Picture this. You are high up in the mountains. The air is so crisp, so clean. You've just tucked into bed after a great day of hiking. Everything feels perfect. But then, something really weird starts to happen. You jolt awake, your heart's pounding out of your chest, and you have this absolutely terrifying sensation that you just stopped breathing. If you've ever felt this, you know exactly how unsettling it is. So let's break down what is going on with your body in that exact moment. All right, let's get right into it. The culprit behind that scary nighttime gasp actually has a name. And, it's a direct result of your body just trying its best to cope with this new high-altitude environment. It is called high-altitude periodic breathing. Now, this is a specific type of what's known as central sleep-disordered breathing. And that word central, that's the key. It means the problem isn't in your throat, it's not in your lungs, it's actually starting in your brain's control center. Now, this is really important to understand because we have to separate this from what most of us think of when we hear sleep apnea. This is not obstructive sleep apnea, which is a physical problem. Your airway literally collapses or gets blocked. No. With this central apnea at altitude, your airway is wide open. The problem is your brain is the one hitting the pause button on your breathing. So you gotta be asking, why would your brain's normally super reliable breathing system suddenly get so wonky at high altitude? Well, it all comes down to this delicate balancing act that just gets thrown completely out of whack. Okay, so the root of the problem starts right here. Up high, the air still has about 21% oxygen, just like at sea level. But because the air pressure is lower, every single breath you take packs in fewer oxygen molecules. Your body picks up on this deficit immediately, and, well, it sounds the alarm. And this creates a really unstable feedback loop. It's kind of fascinating, actually. First, your body senses low oxygen, and it makes you hyperventilate, breathe fast and deep to try and make up for it. But in the process, you blow off way too much carbon dioxide. And here's the kicker. Your brain's main trigger to breathe isn't a lack of oxygen, it's the buildup of CO2. So when your CO2 levels suddenly plummet from all that hyperventilating, your brain gets a false signal. It thinks, oh, everything's fine, and it hits the emergency brake on your breathing. But of course, during that pause, CO2 starts to build back up, which then screams to your brain, hey, we need to breathe, and it triggers that rapid breathing all over again. And this chaotic cycle, this overbreathing and then not breathing, it can happen almost every minute. It mostly happens when you're asleep because your conscious brain has checked out. You're running purely on these automatic controls, and right now, those controls are unstable. So let's talk about how this whole internal drama actually feels. What are the symptoms? These are basically the clues that your body is sending you saying, hey, I'm under stress from this altitude. So if you're waking up all the time, or you feel breathless, or you're just getting that terrible, restless kind of sleep, and then you wake up with a headache and feel exhausted the next day, yeah, this breathing pattern is almost certainly the cause. Your body is working like crazy, even when it's supposed to be resting. And that's the crucial point here. This isn't just some weird, isolated quirk. It's actually a huge part of what we call acute mountain sickness, or AMS. That awful quality of sleep is one of the main reasons people feel so terrible when they first get to a high elevation. Okay, so you might be wondering, does this happen to everyone? And, at what point does this whole strange breathing thing actually start to kick in? Let's take a look. So the general rule of thumb is that this periodic breathing becomes pretty common right around 8,000 feet, which is about 2,500 meters. And the higher you go from there, the more intense and frequent these cycles get. And honestly, the truth is almost anyone can be affected. It really doesn't matter if you're a super fit young athlete or not. The number one biggest risk factor is just going up too high, too fast. You're just not giving your body enough time to adapt. All right, so we've laid out the problem, but here's the good news. It's a totally predictable and manageable one. There are proven ways to stabilize your breathing and actually get a good night's sleep, even way up in the mountains. The absolute best thing you can do, the number one strategy, is to simply give your body time. A slow ascent, maybe spending a day or two at an intermediate elevation. That lets your body's systems gradually adjust to the lower oxygen without freaking out and starting that chaotic feedback loop. Now, if just taking it slow isn't quite enough, there are other tools in the toolbox. There's a medication called acetazolamide that can really help stabilize your breathing. You could also use a little bit of supplemental oxygen while you sleep. That basically tricks your body into thinking everything is normal. And of course, the surefire 100% cure is just to go down, descend to a lower altitude.
Look, waking up gasping for air at 10,000 feet is terrifying. I get it. But now you know why it happens. It's not a sign that something is terribly wrong with you. It's just a predictable physiological response to a new environment. So the next time you're sleeping in the mountains, what will you think about differently as you start to drift off?